There are many fears that narcissists use uh, to control their victim. You could call it mental captivity. And must remember that the narcissist plan is well thought out. Whereas if you're a victim of narcissists, they've drugged you, they've manipulated you, they've gaslighted you, they've pretended to be your best friend, they've used good cop, bad cop situation where I knew well, if there's more than one will be really nice, the other one will argue over something, and the one who's always nice you'll be compelled to be nice with that one and stuff like that. So, um, what you doing, kittens? So running through some of them is if you're part of a criminal group and the criminal group's done evil things, and as a young person you were incorporated into it, you were seduced into joining that criminal group, they will use your, this is quite well known, they will use your activities in the criminal group, even though you were a child or a young person, you don't quite realize as an adult that you're actually guilt free. You you know, even up to a young adult, because you didn't know what you were doing. The criminal activities, whatever they are were a part of your life, and so you just came to see them as normal and grow up with them thinking that they're normal. But manipulators can try to get you to feel guilty over your part in it, even though you were seduced and treated as a child. Your brain wasn't capable of comprehending what was going on. Your brain wasn't able to compete with the manipulator's adult mind as a young person. So therefore, you had no chance. You were taken advantage of, used and abused, tracked, manipulated, seduced, and you're innocent. But they will try to make you think that you're guilty. Because if you think that you're guilty, you won't go and seek help. You'll be scared that they'll go to jail originally, and then when you finally realize you've been manipulated, you'll be scared of going to get help because they'll say, you are just as guilty as we were. You took part in the activities. You were happy about it. You didn't feel guilty when you did it. You were as bad as we were. And that's not the case. That's not the truth at all. That's what they want you to think. That's why we get a lot of these cases where there's child abuse, child sex abuse, and that, and they come forward like 10 years later and they go to the place and people sit there saying all these bad things about the person coming forward, and then the accused lawyer tries to say that they took part in the activities and that they were just as bad. But when you're a child or a young adult, no way. It's just trying to make you think you are. And even later on in life, you can get to the stage where, say, like you're 30, you might find God, or you finally have a revelation and awakening. You're like, oh my gosh, what have I been doing all these years? And you click. So the the realization that when you were younger, you participated in illegal activities can be used against you once you've awakened from the slumber that they put you into that made you accept the illegal activities. So realize that that's just a weapon. It's not a reality. There are a lot of things, basically everything the manipulator does with your mind is not a reality. They just get your imagination and they twist it around. so that you think that the things that they're telling you are reality and they're not. Now, fear is one of the biggest weapons I've seen anyway that the manipulators use. Your fear of being caught out, like going to the police and their lawyer saying you participated at the age of 17 or 16, therefore you're evil. And you're like, oh, part of it and you enjoyed it and rah. It's, they, any one who takes into the account that from, say, the age of 5 to the age of 15 or to the age of 8 to the age of 20, you were manipulated by an adult. Seduced, adults are seduced, so at the age of 30. So, you've got to think about that. Then there's other behaviours like drug abuse that they can use to manipulate people. People in their 20s and 30s are drugged up and used for gang fights and stuff like that, or theft. So, a lot of maturity needs to be taken into account. And if you're a victim, you need to be mature about what really is real and not the imagination that the manipulators have installed into your head to confuse you and to give you fear. Another fear is the fear of what your friends will think. Uh, when you look at all these brave people who have come forward and exposed people, it's good. It takes a lot of courage, but normally once they get to the stage where it's realised that what happened was real, then they're quickly and easily forgiven. So you have that narcissists and manipulators create a happy home for the public viewing. And so you grow up in what the public think is a happy home, but you've been manipulated and abused, maybe sexually abused. And then when you're an adult, maybe your family do incest. And then as an adult, it becomes scary to expose that for what it really was. I don't have any trouble with it. My sisters do. They don't want our family to be talked about publicly. They don't want people to know what mum and dad were really like. I don't mind. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. The truth is healing. When you get it out and you get to the stage where I am, where I don't fear it, then it's very healing. It's very liberating. It's very good to know that I'm expressing and telling people stories, expressing my feelings, and telling people of what really happened, and that the people they loved and adored were bad people, like my mother's brothers and sisters. They adore her. They have no idea what she was really like as a human being, and especially as a mother. When they used to visit, Mum used to dress us up, and we were told not to swear, not as children, not to misbehave, to do what she said and stuff like that. So we did, because she told us to. It wasn't because we were the people we were faking and pretending we were. And when they took photos, we smiled and politely and took the part. But it was all a lie. So try not to be scared of being exposed. If your story needs to be told, it's going to help a lot of people in the exact same situation. And they desperately need your help. They need a hero. They need someone out there to expose. The other thing is when a person steps forward, as always, it happens, others step forward. They just need that little push. They need that one person to go forward and say, even 30 years after things have happened, and one steps forward, then others start stepping forward. Especially when they realise when one person steps forward and it's obvious that the manipulation was really bad and they were fooled as well and used and abused as well. Other fears are fear of failure, fear of not working, don't worry about it. I mean, my parents have never been taken to court for what they've done. They've never been publicly abused for it. They've never been publicly, um, people still think great of them, both mum and dad, but a lot of people have been healed by me publicly speaking out. And I don't have anything to actually take them to court for, but if I did, I would do. Absolutely. You know, it's just right is right. I've got this thing where, if it's the right thing to do, you do it, no matter what the risk is. Um, so manipulators implant in your head imaginary fears. They also will create, or they will see in your head the doubts. They'll put their mind in your mind, or they'll sit down with you and say, what are your fears? What are your worries? And they'll get closest to you, like Stockholm Syndrome. They will express some of their fears and their worries to encourage you to do that. And you'll just let your heart go and tell them everything. And once they know these things, they'll sit there and they'll use them to control you. That's how they work. Knowing that you have fears and worries and that you're scared to take certain steps, they will feed those fears. They will say to you, say you fell in love with a cripple or a lawyer or someone in the police force, they will find anything they can about that person to make that person as bad and as horrible as possible, because criminal groups do not want you marrying into the police force. And then they'll find some way to create a fear out of it. Like, say, he beat his previous wife. We all know that. And he never did, but, they're trying to isolate a person, fill that person's head with imaginary fears, control that person then with those fears. And it can be very powerful, with deep fake videos of face swapping, with photography, face swapping, which is extremely easy. You can do all that stuff on your home computer now, with people coming and lying, being paid or just lying and stuff like that. The people can, the fears can be very powerful and they can last a long time. If you have fears like that and you are suspicious that your fears aren't valid, ask around. But always ask people, that the people who taught you the fears, like the group, ask people they don't like, or ask people who you know are friends of the person you have worries about. Like if it was a cop, ask other cops or ask other family members or people who are related. Look, look on Facebook, of course, also social media, but in your websites and that. But get a broader view instead of the limited view you've been taught. So with narcissism, with manipulation, with captivity and isolation and the like, they will give you an extremely limited view of the world, of especially of anyone you liked before they got you. So started working on your mind, before they started working on your mind. Because and anyone who's good that you like. And they're happy as long as you have friendships with people that are good, but you don't expose them. Another one is threats of your life. If you're scared of your life being hurt, there's threats on your children, there's threats on the other person that you like. So you fall in love with someone and they keep telling you, we're going to get them, we're going to kill them. The thing is when you step forward in these cases, I was thinking of the girl who was exposing Epstein and that woman and Prince, whatever his name is. When you have to take your feelings of fear and turn them into fight. I mean, you already know you're going to be publicly exposed. You already know that people are going to lie and gossip, and you've been part of a gossip campaign. You see how devastating and hard it is? That's going to happen to you. But you've got your job to do. You don't start these kind of things exposing people without knowing that it's going to be hard. But see, the hardness, the struggle is part of the journey. And as like if there's a group of manipulators or child abusers or whatever, it's like it's Epstein, that woman. I'm tired. The nudge of last night. I can't remember her name. And there's the royal one. You just knock them off. You go to the police. You give them all the names, and other people will come forward, especially when it becomes public. And it's satisfying. It's very, very satisfying dealing with these people. It's very satisfying doing what you're doing, and it's good. You have a purpose. You have a reason to do this. This may have been the purpose you were born for, and it's just really good to do the just right thing. But the fears that the manipulators put in your mind. See, I've come to realize that there's professional therapists now that criminals hire, and they manipulate members of the group to keep them under control in the group, to behave, to continue to be used and abused, and to like it, to think that they're actually in good hands, that they're happy and their life's good and such and such. Other fears are fears of being, fears of being exposed, fears of being, a fear of failure, fear of not being accepted by the public after that. Well, we have our things to do. Is why I like my form of self isolation, as during the during the character assassination, there was lots of people that didn't like me, and I could either stay out in the public eye and want to kill everyone, or stay home and just get on with life. So one of the things is I just did a lot of projects, and while I knew the world was out there hating me, I just got on with my life. If I had a wife and children, I'd just get on with them, do activities, and um, paint the house, paint the roof, you know, repair furniture or whatever that was needed doing. Maybe sand and varnish the floors, do whatever and keep busy and just ignore the world, and things blow over. Like if you keep busy, you kind of isolated for 2, 3 years after something like that happened, then you'd go back out into the world and find everyone was fine with you. It's people need to adjust to what they've been told, and the manipulators will try and use your fear of public rejection and your fear of, and you're insecure about anything you want to do. Anything you want to do, that's like escaping them. To walk away from the manipulators to safety, they will place, if they implanted a friend or someone who you confided in and you told them, or you told one of the manipulators where you wanted the code to escape, they will work on you over and over and over again to ensure that you have many doubts, you're very insecure about escaping there. You have fears of escaping there. You have fears of what will happen to you. You have fears of whatever. It's all imaginary. And it's all designed to have you afraid of everything, anxious, terrified, worried, anything. And that keeps you under their control. Part of the reason I like to break away from things like that is it never works. And sometimes I say to myself, do I really want to keep like this? Do I like the situation? No, I don't. Why am I staying here? It's like getting work after years of depression and anxiety. And then you're sitting there thinking, well, I've got to take the step because I don't like being like this. I don't like having little money. I don't like struggling. I need to do this. I need to step forward. And you take the courage and you do it because it needs to be done. So look at the situation you're in. If you're in captivity, think about it. Think, do you like this? Do you really want to stay like this for the rest of your life? And if they've got therapists and stuff working on you, do you really want to be like that? Are they healing you? Is life getting better? No. So it needs to change. But it can only change with your courage. So if you don't like what you got to change it yourself. Okay, don't expect others to do it. Just realize one of the main tools that I've found that manipulators use is fear. And probably, I mean, everyone loses their temper. Everyone has bad days, good days. So they will take anything they can find about the person or the people you want to trust, and they will mix truth with lies. So you will absolutely be terrified of the person you actually trust. So you gotta realize the situation you're in. Once you realize the situation and you've had an awakening, then you have to realize that the people who have been manipulating you are not telling you the truth. They're not your friends. They don't want you to be happy. If you were happy, you'd be free and you would have exposed them. And that's the last thing in the world they want. But a fear of them getting to you, a fear of it's like during the character assassination for the whole 13 years so far, not a person has physically touched me. I've been threatened in the streets. People have yelled at me. People have thrown abuse at me. The house was egged. Eggs thrown at it. My letterbox was blown up. But that's as far as it got. I just said to God, because I believe God protected me, and I just said to God, if they get any further on the section, that's it. And my faith was going to go, and they never did. That was it. So they, and in the streets, it's been fine. No one. I have a very dangerous job walking around in security late at night, all by myself, and no one's touched me. And you have to realize you have to throw away your fears of what they say they can do, fears of what they say will happen, fears of what they have implanted in your head, and say, look, I'm not afraid of what the public will think. I'm not afraid of what their threats are. I'm not afraid of what they say will happen. I'm not afraid because I have something to do. And the most important thing is not to expose them, but the most important thing is to get away from them, to start a new life, to clear your brain out, your mind. Yeah, I mean, you're just going to waste the whole of your life and all your years. And if you've got children, they're going to be, like if it's a paedophile group, those kids are going to be food for them, sexual food. And your children will be brought up to be pedophiles once they get them off you at a later age. It's just not worth it. And so you have to be your own hero for yourself, but you have to understand that fear is. I like to see fear as 90% or 99%, 95% um, uh, fake, imaginary. Most of the fears I've ever had have never come true. There was a fear, something I had to do recently, and I was very anxious about it, but it wasn't until I got home a day later and then I thought, oh, nothing went wrong. Everything went smooth and perfectly. And it kind of We have, and see, fear and anxiety and worry are all natural emotions. They're all natural. They're there to protect us for real cases to fear. If a bear walks in the room, that's when they're supposed to. You're supposed to be scared. But this other stuff, it's different, and they'll use guilt too to make you feel. You will fear the thought of people saying you're guilty, and you'll also feel guilty for dominating like your own parents or walking out on your family or not backing them up anymore. So you need to step out of that. There was one in Susan Forward's box where she said the father was being manipulated by the mother. The mother controlled the whole entire family. He walks out of the family and says, "No, I'm not having anything to do with you guys." And they're all adults. And so she fakes a heart attack or whatever, and all the family go, "Oh, mum," and they're ringing him up, and they're all abusing him and calling him names for nearly killing the mother and all sorts of stuff like that. And so he goes, the mother wanted him to marry a woman of her choice, and he refused. So he would have married a woman who the family didn't approve of, and all hell broke loose. And, "Well, no, we're cutting you off. We don't want anything to do with you." And he's going, after his therapy with Susan Ford, he just turned around and said, "Well, go. I mean, I don't want anything to do with you anymore." And he went off and lived his life happily. So there's a few stories like that I've read, and people are very, very happy. And I've known people to break away from their families and to break away from the criminals, and it's a new life. It's refreshing. It's a rebirth, and it's like a flower blooming. You finally get to find out who you are. You finally get to do things without treading on eggshells. No more fears. Love it. Bye.